Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So happy to be here and that we could close out this amazing, I don't even want to call it a retreat. I'm not exactly sure what to call it yet. I'll figure it out by the end of the hour, but it's just been a wonderful experience for us, for our children. I've spoken to a number of people and shared that I've never, in my whole life, felt comfortable leaving my child without checking on her every 17 minutes. So this is a first. I'd like it not to be the last, where I feel like my child is safe and happy and cared for. So thank you both for that so much. My name is Brandy Summers. I am an associate professor of geography at UC Berkeley. And I have the honor and true pleasure of introducing my two friends who are co-collaborators and co-principal investigators of this amazing Black Studies Collaboratory. So we have Tianna Paschel first, to my left. Associate Professor of Sociology and African American Studies at UC Berkeley. And we have Leigh Raiford. Professor of African American Studies at UC Berkeley. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking right now because I get to ask them the good questions. So I'm going to let them go ahead and share what you'd like to offer to everyone today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandy. Well, we prepared a few opening comments. I just also want to say right now that my heart is so full. And I also just want to thank again, just having been through the weekend, a few folks who really made this possible. It made it possible for us to rest and retreat. Thembian, Barbara, Ren, Enviro Media, Abundant Beginnings, and the Rush Creek Lodge staff, for sure.
And I want to give a special shout out to Jackie Serrano, who is our amazing graphic designer, who designed all of this. And they could not be here. So thank you.
And I want to thank you. Okay, it's a little hard to see, I'm realizing, but this is called Notes Toward a Black Paper. We wanted a maroon community. We wanted something of our own.
We wanted a Black space and undercommons, a promised land, a dream space, a negrotopia, a negrada, a sanctuary, a refuge, a clearing.
We wanted living room, a loophole of retreat, an oasis in the diaspora, a quilombo. We wanted to create, oh, sorry, that's you. I already stepped on it.
It's all good. We wanted to create something that had lasting impact, even though we suspected it wouldn't live forever, at least not in its initial form.
We wanted a monument to Black feminist and Black radical world dreaming against extractive institutions, even as we rejected forced permanence.
We wanted to cultivate a feeling of freedom, hold a space for experimentation, and we wanted to see how many people we could bring along with us.
Really, at the core, we wanted to see what a university run on Black feminist principles might look like. The Black Studies Collaboratory.
So this project emerged at a specific time after the murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, after the historic uprisings of 2020, and amidst the half-hearted and often fleeting efforts by many institutions to address racial injustice. In this context, we knew they would come knocking at our doors for expertise, for photos, for bullet points. that would all attempt to perform an institutional commitment to racial justice and to Black people and communities. We knew that we would be flooded with requests to speak at half-baked, superficial, and hurried events, put on hiring committees aimed to rectify years of neglect and indifference and violence. In August 2020, the Mellon Foundation put out an unprecedented call to a select handful of universities for grants to support innovative, multidisciplinary, collaborative efforts to address racial inequality and to create a more equitable future through humanities-led research.
Black Lives Matter, the university said. We have a Black Lives Matter department. Yeah, just one.
Yeah.
The Department of African American Studies was invited to submit a proposal. Tianna and I raised our hands. We were given 11 days. And we spent 11 days dreaming, coaxing greater audacity from one another, naming out loud the conditions in which we could thrive, writing the word Black as many times as possible. We built the Black Studies Collaboratory around 5 key goals, which you've seen as you came in: to nurture, support, generate, and amplify innovative work centered in Black humanity, to create shared space for experimentation and collaboration by bringing activists, artists, and academics at various stages in their careers into critical engagement and collaborative imagining, to provide robust programming and generative tools for campus and Bay Area communities, to develop and practice a new model of public-facing Black studies, and in many ways a new model that is the old model, which was the original model. The plan's a good one, stick with it, right?
Yes.
Create opportunities for joyful and generative engagement among Black faculty, students, staff, the surrounding community, around the country, and around the world.
Like the student, faculty, and community activists that Black Studies emerged out of in an earlier moment of political insurgency, we turn to the abundance of models of world building that have guided and sustained our own work and our own living. We wanted something that refused DEIBJ logics, something that came from us, something that spoke to our ways of being in the world, to our values, our legacies, and our ways of seeing. Something that would ultimately serve the university, but on our terms. DEIBJ wants us to squeeze ourselves into little boxes in order to make business as usual, only a little more colorful. A mural declaring Black Lives Matter over an over-policed, under-resourced street. A seat at a table built by the incarcerated with food laid by exploited labor to imagine greater modes of resource exploitation and extraction. We wanted to do, Stefano Harney and Fred Moten suggested, we wanted to do as they suggested, to quote, sneak into the university and steal what one can, to abuse its hospitality, to spite its mission, to join its refugee colony, its gypsy encampment, to be in but not of. This is the path of the subversive intellectual, they tell us, in the modern university, unquote. We wanted to speak our many languages in the light of day: Espanol, ASL, Black vernacular English, Portuguese, Portuñol, disciplinarese, highfalutin English, critical theory, and also hoodese. We wanted it to be intergenerational, to honor the knowledges that come with every stage of life. We wanted to build our quilombo with an understanding that in so doing, we would have to work through and contend with difference. So we built food into every aspect of this grant. Because as the Black Panther Party taught us, you can't learn, strategize, or fight on an empty stomach. And also because the kitchen table is a key site of organizing and knowledge production. We tried to build love and recognition into every invitation that we offered, from our invitations to our artists, activists, archivists, and elders and residents, to our Global Black Feminism Summer Lab participants, to our community partners, and in the way we structured our small grants program. You are already enough. We want to recognize you. We are not here to surveil you. We are not here to give you, we are here to give you the space to try something, and in many cases, to experiment. We wanted to spread this money like peanut butter, which is what Leigh often would say, to make sure that as many folks as possible were touched by this grant, so they, in turn, would recognize the hand they had in building it.
Just keep it on the loop, please. Brent, just keep looping. Oh, thank you. It stopped, sorry. Our goal wasn't to plant seeds, because our own scholarly, activist, artistic work made clear that the seeds are already there. Instead, we germinated mycelium, activated spores, dug our hands deep into the rhizomatic network that has sustained us, even when we can't see it, the especially fertile ground of the Black Bay Area, and tried to bring it to the surface. A living, breathing praise song to the labor that brought us here, a map and a gift to those who come. But we faced a paradox. In the effort to make inhospitable places livable, we wondered if we were only extending the life of such conditions. Were we exacerbating exactly those material and psychic structures not committed to our survival? Care is a word, an ideal, an ethic fundamental to Black feminist practice. Care, Saidiya Hartman says, following Christina Sharp, is the antidote to violence. But care, as Mariama Kaba reminds us, is also how the state holds you in its grasp. As Caleb Dawson has taught us, care is how the university keeps you grinding. Same inequity, different day. And here's the secret, our own failure. Care almost killed us. What we strove to create for others, the conditions to breathe, to dream, to be valued for what you already bring into the world, we failed to create for ourselves. We thought we could carry all the weight, plug every hole, hold every inch of space, and that hubris wrought physical, emotional, and psychological damage. But we were also reminded that the tools for our survival were already there in the name itself: collaboration, the brain trust, the collective, and our beloveds who bore witness. And here we want to especially thank those who lived with us, who fed us, who nursed us when we were unwell, and labored to ease our paths so we could do this work. Thank you, Michael Cohen.
Thank you, Azim Latif.
Collaboration, as Zach Norris reminds us, is essential to our survival.
We say jokingly and lovingly, and also quite seriously, that the BSC ruined us. It ruined us in that it created an entirely different space of learning and dreaming and being in community. It nurtured different kinds of relationships across generations and disciplines and languages, and it nurtured different parts of ourselves. It brought different values to the fore, different from those that are often prioritized in mainstream academia. It forced difficult confrontations with unhealthy relationships to the institution, with our unhealthy relationships to the institution. It ruined us because we cannot simply go back to the way things were. And we won't. Ultimately, though, we are okay with the ways that we've been ruined. Here are the lessons we've learned, and many of these are already found in our community agreements, so beautifully articulated by our project manager, Barbara Montano. Yes.
Barbara.
Care. Thank you. And I just want to say quickly, thank you for Makini for bringing me tea when I could barely stand yesterday. Thank you to Jocelyn for pouring water for me right now. And thank you last night in the spa for Will for bringing me a mojito that was perfectly timed. Care. Okay. All right. So this is what we've learned. Rest, radical honesty, slow down, refuse the speed up. Pay people more than you think you can. It still won't be enough. Mutual recognition, solidarity, friendship, love, collaboration. Which is to say, these are the things we knew at the start, the values and ethics that formed the foundation of our grant proposal, all that we sought to discover and to practice.
For the conclusion of the grant, we were encouraged to produce a white paper, which I'm a humanities person, and so I didn't actually know what that was. So to me, a white paper is when Black words show up on a white page, a blank white page. And they are bold and assertive, as if new, as if wholly invented, solutions, products, progress, the business of new knowledge. Yeah. And it turns out I actually wasn't far off.
You weren't.
So a white paper, as Tianna, my brilliant social scientist, lover of spreadsheets, comrade sister explained to me, is an authoritative but unpublished paper that often presents findings about complex problems and offers ways to solve them. In the term's origin, as government documents, white papers traditionally are those made available to the public. So instead, we offer this as a Black paper. This is our Black paper. That is what gets revealed when we scratch the surface, what we choose to fashion from what is already there, what emerges when we elect to have faith in what is not always immediately visible or quantifiable. It is the pink glow of Sadie Barnett's new Eagle Creek Saloon. It is the Black sound of Rwandan party music and Cubana queer vegan hip hop. It is the laughter of our children. It is the portals created by our multiple languages. It is the complex, considered choreography between our grief and our joy. It is the protective circle of our dance. The Black paper is all of us here, together, right now. So what if we choose, in the midst of flight and fight, to linger here for a moment, to breathe together, which is the root meaning of conspire, to listen for each other and all things living and once living and still living. What if we share this quiet and let the darkness hold us, our secrets and our dreams? Could this be freedom? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I had prepared questions, but I tend to shake things up whenever this kind of thing happens. So we had talked about the themes of sustainability and failure. I'd like to extend beyond that, but we'll start with sustainability and failure. And you mentioned failure. I certainly would have never thought that would be a word that you could attribute to this process or even the product, if that's what we're going to call this. I certainly recognize that y'all didn't take good enough care of yourselves, but that's why you have community. So I do want to know a little bit more about how you think and talk about failure.
Thank you, Brandy. You know, you're right. Thank you for saying that. I think I'm sort of actually reminded of what DeLindsay said at the end of the Panther Legacy panel yesterday. You know, what you leave behind is actually a lesson, right? It's always a lesson. And I think we learned a lot about all those things: slowing down, resting, refusing a little bit more. I think that actually, no. I think that's all I can say right now. I need a minute.
Okay. Take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to find the words for this. I think there are a lot of failures that are just that, and that's okay. But it turns out that the ones that I'm thinking about are ones that we had along the way that we tried our best to do something with, and I think first and foremost admit, like we got that wrong. So we had invited some Black feminist scholars to a space to retreat last summer, and it was a beautiful experiment, we thought, right? Like, and it was that we asked them to not do anything, but just be there. Many of them had not been asked that. They were across generations, across geographies, from different places, working on different places, and some of them had small children in their care. And we were like, oh, we got a stipend, like we could figure this out. And a stipend for childcare was insufficient, right? Like when you're asking people to come and be present with you for a long period of time. And so we thought seriously about that. And that's not the only example. Like, what are the conditions under which we're asking folks to be in community? Like, what does that require? What kinds of interpretation does that require? I mean, I feel like half of Barbara's entire job became like, how do we be about it? You know what I mean? Like in terms of inclusion and to really sink in and learn through and grow from difference in the way that Audre Lorde has provoked us to do, like we have to be about it. And so when we did this Futures retreat, we were like, okay, children first, like, children first. And it gave us great pride to invite those same folks back and be like, we got you. Yeah. We are trying to build a community where everyone has what they need, and it won't be enough, but we're gonna try. And so I think even this retreat itself is a lot of learning from a lot of failure, Yeah.
That's fair. Did you want to pick it up? Okay, that sounds good. So there was something that you both mentioned also where you took inspiration from Harney and Moten. But I'm curious about what the stakes are for building such a rich, beautiful Black feminist and Black radical world dreaming project, but within the neoliberal university. And I want to know what you stole.
what did we steal? I feel like I think we try to steal a lot of time. We try to steal a lot of time and give it back to people. So one of the things, a sort of small thing, any application that's supposed to have a letter of recommendation that comes with it, right? And the professors in the room will know that letters of recommendation
are the bane of our existence.
The bane of our existence.
Yes,
they are just a killer. Sorry, students. It's facts. And so we basically just asked for a checkbox, right? Where we just, do you work with this person?
Do you know them to be roaming the earth?
Yeah, exactly. Are they gonna blow up our community, or are they benefit and to keep it really short, to not ask too much, right, in the ways that we are expected to ask too much, to not create too much busy work for people. So all of the invitations for the fellows, for the small grant recipients, were basically, we would like you to, for the small grants recipients, we just want you to present your work at this symposium. It wasn't even a formal presentation, it was a conversation to share, right? And really about building community. We didn't, a lot of artist fellowships ask for, they want a whole piece of art, right? They want all these things, and we didn't, I think, so stealing back time is maybe one of the key things that we stole. I would also say, again, I just want to shout out Barbara's work in, through Barbara's work, the BSC probably doubled the number of Black-owned businesses who are part of the UC vendor system. It is a long and arduous onboarding process, and Barbara did the work to get people into that system. Right? I think the last thing I think we would say that we stole. I think we stole the idea that that the university itself is the final or most fundamental arbiter of knowledge. And finding all the ways that we could open the university, open the space, which sometimes meant leaving the university entirely. A lot of our program, when we tried to move around and not be on campus. And I think that was really destabilizing for a lot of people on campus. It really, it confused them, frankly.
Yeah, on that knowledge's point, I think for me, one of the things that I feel like I stole back through this work with you and with the Collaboratory was a knowing of myself, a knowing that I have a deep practice of embodied knowledges that is Black study. That, I got my PhD in sociology, and you'll remember this. I was like a refugee from the 4th floor. I was on the 6th floor, so much so people really remember me being a part of a cohort. They're like, it was you, Ron, and I'm like, no, I wasn't. So I received my education in this department that I feel so blessed and honored to be a faculty member in. And I also engaged in deep Black study at the Malonga Center, downtown Oakland. And both of those have been important to me, and this is the only space in my life where they are together. And so I think I stole that, away. And just to the point about the neoliberal university, when we say that the BSC ruined us, it is because of that university model, because the truth is, even while we say we refuse DIBJ logics, what really happened was we did both,
Right.
right? Like we did not escape. We just did both. And at this time where there are all these hiring initiatives, there are all these other things, as much as we said no, there's still so much that we still did for the university. And so that's what almost killed us, that combination of doing this beautiful thing that we didn't get the privilege of to be in real refuge in this space. If we could have did this, principally, primarily, I think that we would have both been more well. I know that I would have, for sure.
I actually think, I don't know that I would have known how to do just this at the start. I think it took the Collaboratory, it took this time for me to actually learn to learn that I am enough, right? To learn that I don't need to overproduce, right? We are so many of us are brought into the institution, right? And this is why so many folks stay out of the institution, right? And I think of Sadie and Lisbeth both being like, oh, really? You want us to, you want to go where? Back in that place? You know? But so, you know, the way the institutions, you know, invite us in is so predicated on a constant performance of, you know, superlative excess, right? And, you know, and that's probably been the deepest unlearning, right? And so even, I think a lot of the practice of saying to so many folks in the room, right, you are enough, we see your light, right? We recognize like how dope you are, and right, here's some money, go be doper, right?
Literally.
That actually being able to say that to myself has been one of the hardest lessons.
And it's
Thanks,
remarkable because I've witnessed what the university has done. It's relied heavily on both of you. At the same time, telling you that your good is maybe good enough. And that's astonishing to me. I actually don't know what that means. I recognize the cult of white mediocrity that really is pervasive in the university, but it takes on a new form when you actually see excellence in not in the black excellence kind of black capitalist way, but black excellence where it's truly like black feminist praxis in the woods. To see that come about, and then to again see the ways that the institution has held up mediocrity, it's breathtaking actually. So it is wow. But one thing that I think about with both of you is how you're able to both have vision and execution seamlessly. Now, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but you have such incredible grace that vision and execution seem to come together. So perhaps this has to do with collaboration. I'd love for you to speak more about if there was a gap between those, if they kind of came together, if you individually worked on one versus the other. How did that come about?
So I'm going to credit you with this. So Leigh is always the person that's like, let's slow down and let's be more thoughtful. I, just to put it out there, am a survivor of all kinds of stuff. And when you survive trauma, it is really easy to get into fight or flight mode. So when it comes to trying to do something on this scale, inevitably if like something would come up or if a problem would come up, my immediate reaction is like, solve, 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 solve. Get safe, get safe, get safe, get safe, get safe. And I love you and appreciate you because we've had hard conversations about this where your response is often, this can wait. Let's think about it. Let's come back to it. Everything in its time. Yomaira reminded me, todo a su tiempo, right? And so that we can actually align our practice to our values and not just our fear, our reaction, our like wanting to make things right. And so we spent a whole semester setting up infrastructure. And we built this collectively, and we built it with so much support from the department. And I just want to give a shout out to all of the administrative folks who worked on this, like tirelessly, like Maria, Sandy, right? Like tirelessly. And also to Nikki, because as you were talking before, Brandy, as much as the higher ups do not and cannot and will not see us to the extent that they can, Nikki Jones.
Yes. Yes.
You have been
Yes.
our fiercest
Yes.
warrior.
Yes. Yes.
Our fiercest warrior, hype girl, you know what I'm saying? Translator, you know, like teacher, teaching them what this is and why it has inherent value outside of their systems of value, but productive of their systems of value, right? You have been phenomenal, and that has helped us. I always felt like we had Nikki as a shield, you know? Like, do that. Like, don't be scared. Like, you got this. Yeah. I cannot tell you the amount of pep talks. I cannot at all hours, you know, to say, like, y'all do it. Y'all have the space to do it. You already have it in you. Be dope, you know? So thank you. So I think a collective is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, so many things. I think, well, one, I think it was actually like time spent being chair, and we have multiple chairs in our room. Thank you, Eula, also. She said. And you learn pretty quickly that that one of the, I think the forces, the structure, the modes of the neoliberal university is to imagine that everything is urgent. And it's really not. We're not saving lives, right? Like nothing's actually on fire. The only thing that matters is people's money, right? That was the only thing you need to rush on, that you need to move on, right? So I think that knowledge helped me to be like, it's not, it's really okay, right? We can, and then I think also, right, and learning, you were talking about embodied knowledge, and I think what I started to pay closer attention to were all the signals that my body was giving, right? You know, realizing how much I ignored the bad signals, right? I spent a full semester being like, I can't breathe, I can't catch my breath, I can't breathe, and of course, I'm a humanities person, so I thought it was like this beautiful metaphor of like whatever, and I couldn't breathe. I actually was sick. And so trying to figure out how to actually listen differently. And I also want to, and again, every time the question came, the answer really was in the name, right? we draw on other people. There's so much knowledge, there's so many resources, so many ideas. I want to shout out our grad student assistants across the time, coming up with ideas, frameworks, language, right? All the time, just showing them. It's like, oh, I mean, look, I'm like, Alexandra's like, you can do so many things with social media. Oh, I was like, oh, right, I'm old. Thank you, Alexandra. But just so really knowing that that's, and that is also counter to how the university runs, right? They want one person as a representative who is going to speak quickly and make that single decision. And I think the practice of our department is that we move together, right? We move within consensus. And if that means we are not on their timetable, well, we are the Black Studies department, so what'd you expect?
Yes.
So on that, and also thinking about what you were both talking about earlier with learning, and actually if we take what Erica Huggins said yesterday, that we're all students, that we're all learning, really. And so I'm curious what the process of building the BSc has taught you and what you plan to take into the future.
I think I'm still learning that I'm enough. I don't think that I'm convinced yet. I'm hoping that these days will help me with that. I think in that, everyone is asking, like, what's next? And a part of me is like, this is enough, At one of our small grant symposiums, our dissertation fellow, Jared, who has a way with words, and who I can only understand 70% of what he says usually.
That much?
That much?
So Jared was asking a question to Miss Muse and to Grant, but also to Bree Lee Moore, who was one of our small grantees, and others on the panel about what had emerged in that work that we are so thankful to have been able to support, were these kind of pop-up moments of learning, and that were so substantial and also so ephemeral. So Jared asked this question about institutionalizing things and how to think about temporality and the impact that we make. And the whole time I was just like, okay, it's okay. The BSc was just a long pop-up, you know what I mean? And that's enough. And no matter what happens from here, we did this together. It's real, it happened, And so I guess, what I'm learning is to be more audacious and to have more clarity, to define myself through me and through my community, and not to let the creep of these other forms of definition to kind of permeate my skin, I think I'm still learning it, but I think it's actively happening. I can feel it,
Yeah, I think I was raised in a very family full of love and protection, but also a lot of fear. There's a lot of, I grew up with a lot of fear, and I think of myself as a person who is afraid all the time. It's okay. I am afraid all the time. And so I'm learning to trust myself, to trust other people. Michael often says to me, but what if everything goes right? And that's the question that I often ask. Right, because we are so conditioned, right, to assume that everything is going to go wrong. And that is where our anxiety is all about, that future think, right? But what if everything goes right? And I really feel like, and every time I got nervous about this event, I would just look at the invitation list, and I would see your names, and I was like, oh, everything's gonna go right. Yeah.
It did.
And it did.